Welcome to the Plain Books Podcast.
Hello there.
We are launching quite an extensive podcast episode today. We're not looking at a new trend, actually, but diving deep into a real cornerstone, a classic of personal development.
That's right. We're talking about Susan Jeffers' foundational book, Feel the Fear and Do I Anyway.
It really does feel like essential reading, doesn't it? For anyone really who wants to dismantle those limits we tend to put on ourselves.
Absolutely. And our mission for this podcast episode, well, it's pretty straightforward. We are unpacking the entire book. We want to pull out all those compelling, suspenseful, and really practical lessons.
Lessons designed to help you, the listener, convert things like fear, indecision, maybe even anger.
Into power, into action, and yes, into love. So here's the challenge we're putting out there. Let these ideas start enhancing your life right away, like today.
And you can really see the power of this book just by its sheer global reach. I mean, translated into over 30 languages, available in more than 100 countries.
It's incredible.
That universality, across cultures, economies, it just confirms it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Fear is, well, it's part of being human.
It is.
But it absolutely does not have to be this permanent paralyzing barrier holding you back.
And that universality, that shared experience of fear, it leads right into Jeffers' central idea. And it's such a wonderfully encouraging one, I think.
It is.
She argues that, look, struggling with fear often feels like some deep, complex psychological problem, right? Something you might think needs years of therapy to fix.
Yeah, like something's fundamentally wrong with you.
Exactly. But she suggests, and this is key, that in the vast majority of cases, it's primarily an educational problem.
Okay, say more about that. An educational problem.
Yeah, you just haven't learned the right tools or techniques yet.
That is. Wow, that's such a revolutionary way to frame it. Because the relief you feel, it's almost immediate, isn't it?
It is.
That agonizing question, what's wrong with me? Why am I like this? It transforms instantly into something proactive, something solvable.
Right. It becomes, okay, what powerful tool do I need to learn to handle this specific challenge?
It shifts everything. You move from feeling like a patient who needs fixing to being a student who just needs a lesson. I mean, think about it. If we can learn calculus, if people learn to play, I don't know, the violin, then we can absolutely learn the skills needed to navigate our emotions and respond to fear effectively. It's learnable.
Okay, I love that framing. So if it's an educational problem, what's the first lesson in this curriculum? Where does Jeffers start?
Well, she starts by really digging into the anatomy of fear itself. What is it? Where does it show up?
All right, let's dive into that. Section 1, decoding the anatomy of fear. So Jeffers kicks things off by basically documenting what feels like, an epidemic of common fears, things we all recognize.
Oh, yeah. She lists them out. Public speaking, that's a huge one. Asserting yourself, changing jobs, intimacy, just getting older.
And that weird double-edged sword of fearing success just as much as fearing failure. It really does feel like this endless menu of things we spend our lives trying to avoid. It does, but she brings some clarity pretty quickly by sorting this huge list into two kind of manageable categories.
Okay.
So you've got level 1 fears. These are the things that feel like they happen to us, often external things.
Like getting sick or aging or maybe a natural disaster, losing someone you love. Losing financial security is a big one there, too. Things that feel outside our immediate control.
Exactly. And then you have level 2 fears. These are the ones that require us to take action. They're more internal, often linked to growth.
Right. So making a tough decision, maybe starting a big career change, confronting someone in authority like a difficult boss, or even to doctor sometimes.
Or just putting yourself out there to make new friends. That can be terrifying for some people.
Definitely. So we've got these 2 levels, this big list, but where does she take it from there?
Well, this is where she performs this critical synthesis. She drills down through all those different fields to find the single terrifying common denominator that sits right at the bottom of every single one.
And what is that?
She puts it starkly. At the bottom of every one of your fears is simply the fear that you can't handle whatever life may bring you.
Whoa. Okay, hang on. Let me push back on that just a little bit.
Go for it.
If someone's grieving the loss of a child, a devastating level 1 fear, or, battling a serious illness, is she really saying that's only the fear of not being able to handle it? Doesn't that risk sounding a bit dismissive of real trauma?
That's a really important point, and it's crucial we get the distinction right. Jeffers isn't saying the pain, the grief, the trauma isn't real or profound. It absolutely is.
Okay.
What she's focusing on is the paralyzing effect of the fear that often comes with the comma, or even before it. The loss is real. The illness is real, but the fear that truly stops us in our tracks is that internal story we tell ourselves. I can't survive this. My life is over. I cannot possibly manage without that person or that job or that sense of security.
Oh, okay. So it's about the narrative around the event.
Precisely. She argues that if you genuinely believe deep down, whatever happens, I'll handle it, the pain might still be immense, but that crippling dread, that sense of utter hopelessness, that starts to evaporate.
So it's about the translation.
Yeah.
I fear public speaking isn't just I fear looking stupid. It's really I fear I won't be able to handle the shame if I look stupid.
Exactly. It brings the focus back to your perceived ability to cope.
And she traces where this deep self-doubt often originates, right? Pointing towards, well, our upbringing, societal messages.
Yeah, often starting with well-meaning but ultimately damaging overprotection. Think about that classic parent phrase, be careful, darling.
Seems harmless enough. Loving, even.
On the surface, yes. But Jeffers argues it sends this coded two-part message. First, the external message. The world out there is dangerous.
Yep.
But the second, more insidious internal message is, and you aren't competent enough to handle that danger.
Ouch. And often, the parent is actually projecting their own fears onto the child, aren't they?
Absolutely. She shares that story about her own mother refusing to buy her a two-wheel bicycle.
Right.
The mother's surface reason is, I love you, I don't want you to get hurt. But the deeper, unspoken fear the mother is likely feeling is, if anything happens to you, I will fall apart. I don't trust my ability to handle your pain.
And the child just internalizes that as, well, I must not be capable then. Mom doesn't trust me.
Exactly. It installs that I can't handle it belief system deep inside us, often before we're even old enough to question it. It's kind of painful to realize, but sometimes the people who loved us most were inadvertently teaching us to doubt our own resilience.
But here's where Jeffers' approach feels so practical, so empowering. She refuses to let us just get stuck analyzing the past.
Right. She basically says, look, figuring out the exact why behind your fear is often impossible. It's usually unnecessary. And frankly, it can just become another excuse for not taking action now.
What matters is what you do today, from where you are right now.
Precisely. Forget the endless analysis paralysis. Put your energy into developing that core foundational self-trust. The ultimate goal is that unwavering inner voice declaring, whatever happens to me, given any situation, I can handle it.
And those three little words she hammers home, the mantra to keep repeating.
Simple, but so powerful. I'll handle it.
Okay, so internalizing I'll handle it is the foundation. And that allows us to really embrace what she calls the 5 fear truths, which sounds like a major reprogramming exercise.
It really is. It's about shifting your whole reality around fear. Let's start with truth 1, because it tackles probably the most common way we stall ourselves. She calls it the when-then game.
I think I know this one. Like when I feel less scared, then I'll ask for that raise.
Yeah.
Or when I'm more confident, then I'll start dating again.
Exactly. It makes growth conditional on some future state of fearlessness that, well, spoiler alert,
It never arrives.
pretty much. Because truth 1 is, the fear will never go away as long as I continue to grow.
Okay, wow. So fear isn't something to eliminate. It's actually a sign of growth.
That's the core idea. If you're actively expanding your comfort zone, learning something new, trying something unfamiliar, whether it's a new skill, a new relationship, a new job, new fears have to pop up. Fear is basically the admission price for growth. It marks the boundary of where you are now and where you're going.
That's actually incredibly liberating. It shifts the goal from get rid of fear to get comfortable with fear as part of the process.
Exactly. And that leads perfectly into truth 2, which is this kind of paradox that saves us from staying stuck.
Okay, what is it?
Truth 2. The only way to get rid of the fear of doing something is to go out and do it.
So the fear only goes away after you act, not before.
Precisely. The specific fear related to that specific activity only dissipates once you've taken the action, usually repeatedly. You can't think your way out of it. You have to act your way out of it.
She uses her own first teaching experience as an example, right?
Yes, it's a perfect illustration. She was a doctoral student, felt totally unqualified, and was just dreading that first class, utterly terrified.
So scared she massively overprepared.
Oh yeah, wrote like 8 hours of material for a 1-hour class. She said she literally felt sick walking into the room.
But she did it.
She pushed through, and guess what? The next class was easier. Still scary, but easier. By the 6th class or so, that paralyzing dread was just Gone. It had actually been replaced by a sense of anticipation, even excitement.
And so the confidence came because she taught, not the other way around.
Exactly. She didn't wait to feel confident before teaching. The confidence was the result of the repeated action. And she notes, later when she faced a new unfamiliar territory, like doing TV appearances, guess what?
The fear came back.
Yep. Until she practiced that new skill enough times for it to become familiar, it proves the principle again and again.
So competence really drives the emotional regulation. And that ties into truth 3, doesn't it? Linking the action directly to how we feel about ourselves.
Absolutely. Truth 3, the only way to feel better about myself is to go out and do it.
This really flicks conventional wisdom because most of us think we need to feel good about ourselves, feel confident before we tackle something scary.
Right. We think self-esteem is the prerequisite. Jeffers insists it's the bonus. It's the side effect. You do the scary thing, you achieve something, even if imperfectly, and then your self-esteem gets a boost because you earned it through action.
Okay, that makes sense. Act first, feel better later. What's truth 4?
Truth 4 lifts a huge emotional burden, I think. It's not only am I going to experience fear whenever I'm on unfamiliar territory, but so is everyone else.
Universality of awkwardness. That feeling when you try something new, that imposter syndrome, everyone feels it.
Everyone. She uses the fantastic example of Ed Koch, the former mayor of New York City.
Okay, a guy used to pressure.
Exactly. Faced huge political fights, angry crowds, made massive decisions daily. That was his familiar territory. But then he was asked to learn a simple tap dance routine for some public event.
And he was terrified.
Scared to death. Why? Because political battles were familiar, tap dancing was completely unfamiliar. His fear in that moment was just as real as the fear a young person feels walking into a networking event alone.
We're all equally beginners outside our comfort zones.
Precisely. And knowing that, truly internalizing that everyone feels that vulnerability, it allows you to just drop the shame associated with it. It's not just you, it's human.
Okay, that's hugely helpful. So we've got fear is normal with growth, act to reduce fear, act to build self-esteem. Everyone feels fear in new situations. What's the final truth? Truth 5.
Truth 5 provides the ultimate motivation. The reason why pushing through is actually the less scary option in the long run. It's pushing through fear is less frightening than living with the underlying fear that comes from a feeling of helplessness.
Okay, that sounds counterintuitive again. We avoid risks because we think it keeps us safe from fear and pain.
Right. But Jeffers argues that the constant, low-grade, gnawing dread that comes from avoiding action, that pervasive what if, that haunts your quiet moments, is actually far more damaging and frightening than the sharp, acute fear you feel when you actually take the plunge.
The background anxiety versus the acute fear of the moment.
Exactly. That generalized terror is often worse. She tells the story of Janice, a woman who built her whole life around avoiding risk. Her husband handled everything, finances, decisions.
And she lived with that constant background worry. Oh my God, what if something happens to her? I couldn't possibly cope.
That was the soundtrack to her life. But then the what if happened. Her husband had a severe stroke.
Oh, wow.
Suddenly, Janice was forced into total responsibility, managing the business, dealing with doctors, the house, everything. And after the initial shock wore off,
She found she could handle it.
she realized she was handling it. She discovered this competence, the strength she never knew she had. And the biggest realization, that old, vague, constant dread of the what if, was infinitely worse than the actual concrete crisis she was now navigating.
Because she was acting. She was doing.
She proved her own mantra, I'll handle it. The old terror vanished because it was replaced by competence and action. That's the promise. So all these truths, they lead us to this really crucial understanding. The issue isn't really the fear itself, it's the position we hold it from, how we relate to it.
Okay, what do you mean by position?
Jeffers says we're always operating from one of two fundamental positions. There's the position of pain. That's where we feel helpless, depressed, paralyzed. We're victims of our circumstances, victims of our fear.
It's stuck.
And then there's a position of power. This is where we feel choice, energy, the ability to act. We're the masters of our response to circumstances, even difficult ones. The whole goal of her system is to consciously, deliberately shift ourselves from pain to power.
Making the fear itself almost irrelevant.
Exactly. If you're standing in your power, the fear might still be there, but it doesn't control you. It doesn't paralyze you.
Now, it's probably important to clarify what she means by power, because that word can sometimes have negative connotations.
Absolutely critical distinction. She's not talking about power over other people, manipulation, control, ego-driven stuff. That kind of power, she says, is actually fueled by fear itself.
So what kind of power is she talking about?
Internal power. Power over your own perceptions, your reactions, your choices. Power to grow yourself. Power to give, to love. It's self-mastery.
Okay, that feels very different. Healthy.
It is. And this kind of internal power, the kind that comes from self-trust, she argues it's inherently loving. It leads to peace, not conflict. She even notes that some women, especially back when she first wrote the book, resisted the word power.
Yeah, associating it with aggression or something negative.
Right. But she emphasizes that a woman or anyone who is self-assured, who knows their own mind, who operates from this internal power, isn't ruthless. They actually draw positive energy and people towards them, like a magnet. True love and true power, she insists, have to go hand in hand. Without that internal power, love can become needy, dependent, distorted.
Okay, so the goal is to shift from pain to power.
Yeah.
How do we actually do that? What are the tools?
One of the most immediate and impactful tools is monitoring and actively changing our internal language, our vocabulary. She calls it the pain to power vocabulary.
Changing the words we use inside our heads.
Precisely. And the first, most fundamental shift is replacing I can't with I won't, or maybe even more accurately, I choose not to.
Why is that simple switch so important?
Because I can't implies an absolute, unchangeable limitation. It screams weak or incapable into your subconscious mind. Think about trying to stick to a diet. If you say, oh, I just can't stop eating those cookies.
Your brain just accepts it as fact.
Pretty much, it registers inability. But the empowering truth most of the time is, I am choosing to eat the cookies right now. Maybe unconsciously, but it's a choice.
And just acknowledging the choice gives you back control.
Instantly. Because if you're choosing it, you can potentially choose differently next time. It moves you from helpless victim to willful participant. You might still eat the cookie, but you know you decided to.
That applies socially too, right? Like turning down an invitation.
Definitely. If you tell someone, oh, I can't make it to your party, even if you mean you have another commitment, your subconscious might still register that can't as weakness.
So the more powerful, truthful way might be,
I could come, but I'm choosing to honor this other commitment I made. Or simply, I won't be able to make it. It feels stronger, more deliberate. It subtly rewires how you see yourself.
okay, so ditch I can't for I won't, or I choose not to. What's the next vocabulary shift?
Tackling guilt and obligation by changing I should to I could or I choose to.
The tyranny of the shoulds. I should go to the gym. I should call my aunt.
Exactly. Those are guilt sentences. They drain your energy. The power move is to reframe. I could go to the gym and I choose to go today. Or I could call my aunt, but I choose not to right now because I need some downtime.
So you either own the choice to do it or own the choice not to do it and release the guilt either way.
Precisely. It's about conscious decision-making, not vague obligation.
Okay, what else?
The third big one is shifting from it's not my fault to I take responsibility. This is where real self-correction becomes possible.
Now, this one might feel tricky. If something genuinely wasn't your fault, like getting laid off due to company-wide cuts.
Right. But if your default response is purely external blame, it wasn't my fault, the economy's terrible, my boss was unfair, you remain a victim. You have no power to change the situation next time.
So how does taking responsibility help even then?
It's not about taking the blame, especially not self-blame. It's about taking responsibility for your response and your future. So you say, okay, I take responsibility for the fact that I lost that job. What can I do differently going forward? Do I need to build a stronger network? Update my skills? Was I maybe not performing as well as I thought?
It shifts the focus from blame to learning and action.
Instantly. The simple act of claiming responsibility for the outcome, even if not the initial cause, reduces your fear because suddenly you are in charge of the next steps, the prevention, the correction.
Okay, that's a powerful distinction. Responsibility, not blame. And the last vocabulary shift.
It's about dialing down the drama, changing it's terrible or it's a disaster to it's a learning experience, or even just it's an inconvenience.
We do tend to overuse terrible, don't we? The traffic was terrible. My computer crashed. Isn't that terrible?
We do. And every time you use that super dramatic language for minor stuff, your subconscious registers danger, disaster. It keeps you in a state of low-level anxiety.
So reframing keeps things in perspective.
Yes. And Jeffers gives a really profound example from her own life, reframing her experience with cancer. Instead of seeing it only as a terrible catastrophe, she consciously chose to view it as a major learning opportunity, something that shifted her focus towards giving and growth.
Wow. So even in the face of truly difficult things, that reframing can lessen the paralyzing power of the fear around it.
Exactly. It allows you to acknowledge the difficulty without letting it define you as a victim. It keeps you in the power position. And that idea of taking responsibility, moving away from blame, it's so fundamental. But it often gets blocked by this like sneaky victim mentality that can operate without us even noticing it.
How does that show up?
Well, she talks about Edward, this high-powered executive, always stressed, always anxious, but his focus is entirely external. It's always, my wife needs to be more supportive, or my boss is just too demanding, or my son shouldn't be doing XYZ.
So he's constantly pointing the finger outwards.
Constantly. And by doing that, by blaming all these external forces for his internal state of anxiety, he's basically handing over all his personal power. He ensures he remains a victim, completely dependent on others changing for him to feel better.
Which, of course, rarely happens. The moment you blame the job market, your partner, your past, you're essentially choosing to stay powerless, aren't you?
You are. And Jeffers forces us to confront a slightly uncomfortable truth here. We often cling to these victim roles, even when they make us miserable, because they give us some kind of subtle emotional payoff.
Ah, the payoffs. We need to talk about those. But first, that point about responsibility versus blame needs reinforcing, doesn't it?
Yes, it's absolutely crucial. Taking responsibility does not mean beating yourself up. Self-criticism, that inner voice, the chatterbox, she calls it, screaming, "You idiot, you always mess up," that also takes away your power. It just makes you a victim of your own mind.
So how do you take responsibility without self-blame?
Jeffers says you have to accept that, given your awareness, your knowledge, your mindset at that time, you always did the best you could. Hindsight is 20/20. Blaming your past self is pointless and disempowering. The power lies only in controlling your future actions based on what you know now. Forget agonizing over the past mistake. Focus on the future correction.
Okay, that makes sense. And related to the victim trap, she talks about the moan and groan society.
Huh. Yes, we all know this one. It's that common habit of getting together with friends and just complaining. Complaining about partners, complaining about jobs, complaining about how unfair life is.
It feels good in the moment, doesn't it? That shared validation.
It does. That's the hidden payoff. You get to feel right, you bond over the shared martyrdom, you enjoy the little drama of it all, and, very conveniently, all that complaining stops you from having to do the difficult internal work of figuring out how to create your own happiness.
So Jeffers realized she had to quit the society.
Pretty much. She had this epiphany. Only she could make herself happy. Now, she says, if she feels angry or resentful towards her husband, her immediate internal question is, okay, what important thing am I not doing for myself right now that I'm blaming him for not providing?
That takes real self-awareness. And it means confronting that inner voice, the chatterbox.
Yes, that relentless inner critic or worrier or catastrophizer. It's often running on autopilot, especially when we're alone, constantly predicting doom, highlighting lack, dredging up past failures.
She gives some vivid examples, like the internal monologue someone might have before a date.
Oh yeah, the spiral. Should I call them? No, that's too eager. But if I don't call, they'll think I'm not interested. Oh, God, and I wore that awful shirt last time. What if they laugh? This is going to be a disaster. Just pure anxiety fuel.
Or the person angry at their boss. He excluded me again. I hate this place. I should quit. But wait, the job market's awful. I'll never find anything else. I'm trapped. My life is wasting away.
It's exhausting just listening to it. And the solution she offers requires, well, brutal honesty with yourself. You have to notice the chatterbox, acknowledge it's there, and then actively, consciously out-talk it. Drown it out with the positive, powerful affirmations and vocabulary we talked about, especially when you're alone and it tends to run wild.
Okay, so become aware of the negative self-talk and consciously replace it. Now let's get back to those payoffs. Why do we stay stuck, even when we know better?
Payoffs. They're the hidden comforts, the secondary gains that keep us locked in situations we say we hate. Let's take Jean, who despised her boring dead-end job. What was keeping her there? It wasn't really the money. The payoff was the security, the comfort of the known, compared to the terrifying uncertainty and potential rejection involved in looking for a new job. That feeling of safety was the payoff.
Or Kevin, who wouldn't leave an unhappy marriage.
His payoff. His wife, even though they were unhappy, represented a kind of psychological home base, a known quantity. He fueled the absolute aloneness, the independence, more than the unhappiness. That familiarity was his payoff.
And Tanya, who was often sick.
Her payoff was the huge amount of attention and care she got from her family when she was ill. It also conveniently excused her from having to take risks or push herself professionally. The nurturing and lack of pressure were her payoff.
Wow. So the key is to identify your payoff.
Yes, because the moment you see it clearly, the paralysis starts to dissolve. The
Yeah.
situation shifts immediately from, this is my terrible fate, I'm stuck, to, this is a choice I'm making because this payoff, security, familiarity, attention, currently feels more important or less scary to me than making a change.
And once it's a conscious choice.
You can then consciously choose to give up the payoff and seek the fulfillment you really want. The power comes back to you.
Okay, so we identify the chatterbox, we find the payoffs. What's the practical, actionable step to break free from this?
This is where her brilliant, simple tool, Risk a Day, comes in.
Risk a day. What does that mean?
It means deliberately, daily, doing one small thing that pushes you just slightly outside your current comfort zone. Something that feels a little scary, a little risky.
It doesn't have to be huge.
No, not at all. It could be asking for a slightly higher price for something you're selling. It could be finally making that phone call to someone intimidating you've been avoiding. It could be going to a nice restaurant and dining alone just to prove to yourself you can handle feeling a bit self-conscious. Tiny steps.
And the consistency is key. Doing it daily.
Yes. And she adds a crucial element: preparation through visualization. Plan your small risk the night before. See yourself doing it successfully. Feel the confidence of having handled it before you even do it. Remember that experiment she mentions how positive self-talk literally makes you physically stronger.
Right, and negative talk weakens you.
Exactly. So you prime yourself for success. This daily habit of taking small, deliberate actions, even tiny ones, is what incrementally builds that muscle of courage, that internal power, and expands your comfort zone bit by bit.
Okay, this next section tackles a huge source of paralysis for so many people, especially ambitious types. The fear of making the wrong decision.
Oh, absolutely. The what if I choose wrong fear.
Yeah.
It's like that old story of the donkey starving to death between two equally appealing bales of hay because it couldn't decide which one to choose.
We waste so much energy agonizing, trying to predict the future, trying to guarantee the perfect outcome.
We do. And Jeffers offers a radical way out by contrasting two fundamentally different ways of approaching decisions. First, there's the model most of us operate under, often unconsciously. She calls it the no-win model.
The no-win model. How did that look?
You approach a choice point feeling anxious, heavy. You obsess over every possible negative what if. If you make the choice and things go badly, you beat yourself up with regret. Oh, if only I'd chosen the other path.
Endless second guessing.
Totally. And even if things turn out well, the relief is only temporary because you're already dreading the next big decision you'll have to make, fearing you won't get lucky again. It's stressful either way.
Okay, that sounds depressingly familiar. What's the alternative?
The revolutionary alternative is her no-lose model.
No-lose. How does that work?
When you're at that choice point, facing path A and path B, you consciously affirm that both paths are right.
Both are right. How can that be?
Because, Jeffers argues, both paths offer valuable goodies. Both paths, regardless of the apparent outcome, offer opportunities to learn, to grow, to experience something new, to gather wisdom.
So it's not about picking the right path to a guaranteed good outcome, but about embracing either path as a valuable learning journey.
Exactly. The core affirmation is simply, I can't lose. Let's take an example. Say you're deciding whether to leave a safe, stable job for a risky startup venture.
Okay, the no-win voice screams.
You could fail, lose everything, ruin your family. What if it collapses? Pure fear.
And the no-lose perspective says.
Okay, path A, stay in the safe job. Goodies. Financial stability, build my network here, less stress maybe. Path B, join the startup. Goodies. Huge learning potential, excitement, leadership experience, maybe it succeeds. And even if it fails, goodies. I learn exactly how not to run a startup. I prove I can survive failure. I meet new people. You see, both paths offer value.
It completely reframes failure from a disaster to just data collection. More goodies.
Precisely. It transforms life from a high-stakes test you might fail into an adventure where every step teaches you something. She tells a story of Alex, who quit law school after 2 years because he realized he hated it, much to his family's dismay, to pursue psychology.
The no-win view would see those 2 years as a total waste of time and money.
Right. But the no-lose view says, goodies from law school. Learned valuable analytical skills, discovered definitively what I don't want, and hey, during the time I had to work to save up for the new degree, I met my future wife. Those 2 years weren't a mistake. They were a necessary part of the path that led him to where he needed to be.
Okay, I'm sold on the concept. How do we actually use the no-lose model effectively when facing a decision? What are the steps before choosing?
First, hammer home that affirmation. I can't lose. Whatever I choose, there are goodies. Second, do your homework. Gather information. And this is key, talk to the right people.
Yep.
Talk to people who support your growth, who believe in your ability to handle things, who encourage responsible risk-taking. Avoid the people who will just reflect your own fears back at you and try to keep you safely tucked in the status quo.
And you also have to be willing to look like a failure if it doesn't pan out.
Yeah, swallow your pride on that one. Accept that things might not look perfect from the outside, and that's okay. Third, and this can be the hardest for very logical people, learn to trust your impulses, your intuition.
The gut feeling.
Yeah. Jeffers shares her own story of ditching a very rational plan to build a private psychology practice and instead, on a whim, taking an administrative job at something called the floating hospital. Her logical mind screamed, no! But her gut, her intuition, her higher self knew it was the right move for her growth at that time.
And it turned out to be a pivotal career move.
Exactly. Sometimes your subconscious knows things your conscious mind hasn't figured out yet. Fourth, just lighten up about it all.
Lighten up.
Yeah. See life less like a terrifying tightrope walk and more like choosing courses at a huge university. Path A offers one set of lessons. Path B offers another set. As long as you show up, engage fully, and are willing to learn, it honestly doesn't matter that much which curriculum you choose. You'll handle it.
Okay, those are the steps before deciding. What about after you've made the choice and gone down path A or path B? How do you stay in that no-lose mindset?
3 crucial things. First, throw away your picture.
Throw away my picture. What picture?
The perfect image you have in your head of how things should look. The dream house, the flawless relationship, the business that takes off without a hitch. If you cling too tightly to that specific picture, you'll miss the unexpected opportunities, the surprising goodies that often arrive via a slightly messier, different-looking reality. Be open to deviations from the plan.
Okay, be flexible. Don't get fixated on one specific outcome. Second.
Accept total responsibility. We touched on this before. If your stock investment tanks, don't blame the broker, the market, the moon phase. Own your decision to invest.
And that transforms it.
From a victim experience, market screwed me, into a learning opportunity. Okay, what did I learn about risk, about my own relationship with money? Hey, life goes on even after a loss. Responsibility equals power.
Got it. And the third step after deciding.
Don't protect, correct. This is huge.
Right.
If you've committed fully to a path, let's say you spent 5 years building a dental practice and you finally admit to yourself you absolutely hate it.
Don't just stick with it because you've already invested so much time and effort, the sunk cost fallacy.
Exactly. Jeffers says change it immediately. Don't throw more good time, energy, and life force after bad just to protect your previous investment or avoid admitting it wasn't the right path long term. She uses a great analogy of an airplane's guidance system.
How does that work?
A plane on autopilot is actually off course like 90% of the time. It's constantly making tiny, immediate corrections to get back on track. Success comes from that continuous correction, not from stubbornly flying in the wrong direction because you initially set the controls that way.
So that pang of regret or unhappiness isn't a sign of failure, it's just feedback.
Yes. Emotional pain, in this context, is a blessing. It's your internal guidance system saying, ping, correction needed, this isn't quite it. If you listen and correct, you can't really make a mistake in the long run. Every outcome, every failure is just feedback guiding you toward the next goodie.
Okay, moving on. Jeffers identifies another major source of underlying fear, which comes from what she calls emotional singularity, putting all your eggs in one basket, basically.
Yeah, the empty life model. This happens when you focus almost all your emotional energy and sense of identity onto just one area of your life. It might be your relationship, or your super demanding job, or maybe even your kids.
And the danger there is
existential devastation if that one thing is lost or changes significantly. If Bob, the executive whose entire identity is tied up in his high-powered job, gets laid off, or if Jean, whose whole life revolved around raising her kids, faces an empty nest.
there's nothing left, a massive void.
Exactly. The loss of that single anchor feels catastrophic because their entire sense of self, their emotional support system, was packed into that one box. The neediness that gets exposed then can be incredibly painful and scary.
So what's the antidote to this emotional singularity?
It's building what she calls the whole life grid.
Okay, a grid. What does that look like?
Imagine a grid, like a tic-tac-toe board, but maybe bigger, with several boxes. Each box represents a significant area of your life that you consciously commit to nurturing. So you'd have boxes for, say, Work career, family, relationship partner, friends, personal growth, learning, hobbies, health, well-being, and crucially, contribution.
So you're spreading your energy and identity across multiple areas.
Precisely. The idea is to fill your life with multiple sources of meaning, connection, and satisfaction. So if Nancy, who actively cultivates her whole life grid, goes through a painful breakup, loses the relationship box temporarily.
It still hurts, obviously.
Of course. But it doesn't wipe her out completely. It leaves a hole, yes, but it's a manageable hole because she still has deep fulfillment and engagement in her work, her friendships, her personal development goals, her volunteering. She has other pillars supporting her.
That makes so much sense for resilience. What's the key to making this grid actually work? Just listing the categories isn't enough.
No. The secret sauce, as she puts it, involves two key ingredients: commitment and acting as if you count.
Okay, commitment first. What does that mean in this context?
It means giving 100% effort and engagement wherever you are, even if you know that situation is temporary or not your ideal long-term plan. She uses the example of Sandy, who had a job she found incredibly boring, filing records.
And most people would just phone it in.
Right. But Sandy decided to apply 100% commitment. She set herself goals for efficiency. She made an effort to interact positively with colleagues. She even brightened up her little workspace.
And what happened?
By committing fully, by bringing her best self even to that mundane task, she transformed the experience of the job. It stopped feeling like a tedious obligation and actually became a source of personal satisfaction and pride. Her self-esteem went up.
So commitment isn't necessarily about promising to stay forever, but about being fully present and engaged now.
Exactly. It's about proving your own power and finding value in the present moment, whatever it holds. And the second ingredient, acting as if you count.
Yeah, what's that about?
It means valuing your own needs, your own time, your own growth as much as you value others. It means scheduling time for your personal growth box, for your health box, for your friends box, just as diligently as you schedule work meetings or family obligations. You treat your own well-being as a priority, not an afterthought.
Because if you don't fill your own grid, you can't really contribute effectively to others either.
Precisely. And one of those absolutely essential, non-negotiable boxes in the grid, she insists, is contribution. Making a difference somehow, somewhere.
Why is contribution so important in fighting fear?
Because it's the ultimate antidote to feelings of helplessness and scarcity. When you know you're making a positive impact, however small, when you feel like a meaningful force in the world, it fundamentally shifts your perspective away from your own anxieties and connects you to something larger. Fear just diminishes in significance.
And that connects directly to her ideas about giving, doesn't it? She sees genuine giving as a really advanced skill, almost the final antidote to fear.
Yes, especially the fear of lack, the fear of scarcity. Fearful people, she observes, tend to operate from this deep belief that there isn't enough, not enough love, not enough money, not enough opportunity, not enough time. They hoard, they grasp, they protect.
So to overcome that fear of lack,
You have to do the opposite. You have to practice releasing, letting go, giving away. It feels counterintuitive, but it's how you prove to your subconscious that you are abundant, that you do have enough to share.
where does she suggest starting with this practice of giving?
It starts with something seemingly simple, but often surprisingly difficult. Give away thanks. Truly, genuinely expressing gratitude. She noticed many of her students struggled even to thank their partner sincerely.
Like Lottie, who felt her husband should just be glad I'm here.
Exactly. That reveals an ego-driven, conditional dynamic, not genuine gratitude. Real thanks acknowledges the specific contribution someone made to your life, how they helped you, what you appreciate about them.
And she says you should even give thanks for negative experiences or to people who hurt you. That sounds tough.
It is tough, but it's incredibly powerful. The goal isn't to condone bad behavior, but to find the lesson in the pain. She talks about her son eventually thanking her for her emotional unavailability during her divorce because it forced him to develop his own independence. Finding that goodie, that positive outcome, allows you to release the resentment.
And she suggests a visualization for releasing anger towards people who've caused pain.
Yes, a powerful one. You visualize the person in a neutral space and you consciously surround them with healing white light. You wish them peace, genuinely. And then you thank them internally for the difficult lesson they taught you, for the strength you gained because of that experience.
This isn't for their benefit, is it? It's for yours.
Entirely for you. It's the ultimate act of self-liberation, cutting those cords of resentment that keep you tied to the pain.
Okay, so giving things is foundational. What other forms of giving does she emphasize?
Give away information freely without fearing competition. Mentor people. Share what you know. When you do that, you actually expand your own influence and network. Give away praise. Genuinely compliment people, especially those close to you. Be the source of positivity you want to receive.
And giving time.
Critically important. Volunteer for a cause you care about. Or simply give the gift of focused listening to a friend or family member without interrupting or planning your response.
She shares examples of volunteering, like the Holiday Project, and the feeling people get from it.
Yes, that incredible high, that surge of energy and purpose that comes from contributing without any expectation of getting something back. That feeling is direct proof to your subconscious that you are abundant, capable, and connected.
And for combating that daily feeling of scarcity, that focus on what's missing, she has a very practical tool.
The Book of Abundance. I love this one.
What is it?
Get yourself a really beautiful notebook, something special, and commit to filling it over time with a list of at least 150 things, big and small, that you're grateful for, blessings in your life, positive qualities you possess, good things that have happened, past and present.
So it forces you to focus on the donut, not the hole, as she says.
Exactly. It physically trains your brain to scan for the positive, to recognize the abundance that's already there. It's a powerful antidote to the chatterbox's litany of lack.
And the ultimate takeaway on giving, the mindset shift.
It's quite profound, really. When you truly embrace the idea that your purpose includes being a giver, that you are here partly to contribute and let resources flow through you, then it becomes almost impossible to feel conned or depleted. If someone takes from you, in a way, they're just fulfilling your purpose by allowing you to give. It reframes everything.
Wow. Okay, this feels like it's all building towards a really big overarching principle.
It is. This final section synthesizes everything. The core lesson, the ultimate tool that encompasses all the others, is simply say yes to your universe.
Say yes to your universe. What does that mean in practice?
It means choosing to agree to what life presents you with, the good, the bad, the unexpected, the difficult. It means resisting the urge to resist reality, to fight against what is. Saying yes is the ultimate antidote to fear, because fear thrives on resistance, on the NO.
Saying NO makes you a victim.
Yes. Saying no, this shouldn't be happening, I don't want this, locks you into victimhood. It creates tension, blocks growth, leads to apathy or bitterness. Saying yes, even to difficult circumstances, opens the door to possibility, to learning, to acceptance.
She tells a really powerful story to illustrate this, about Charles.
Yes, Charles, a young man paralyzed by a stray bullet in a street fight. A devastating, unfair tragedy. Initially, understandably, he was consumed by despair, hopelessness, a total NO to his new reality.
But he reached a turning point.
He did. He eventually made the conscious choice to say yes to his universe, yes to the reality of his paralysis. And that single shift, that acceptance, opened up a whole new world. He found purpose. He started teaching kids how to avoid trouble, motivating seniors. He became an inspiration.
And he realized he was actually more handicapped before the accident.
In a way, yes, because before, he was blind to the deeper meaning and potential of his life. Saying yes didn't take away the physical challenge, but it transformed the meaning of it.
So saying yes doesn't mean you won't feel pain.
Not at all. You don't say yes instead of feeling pain. You say yes to the pain, yes to the difficulty, knowing you have the inner resources, the I'll-handle-it capacity to navigate it. You accept the pain as part of the package deal of life, transforming it from a catastrophe into a catalyst.
Accepting reality, warts and all.
Exactly. And this ability to say yes, even to pain, connects directly to the final, deepest concept in the book, tapping into your higher self.
The higher self. What does she mean by that? Is it spiritual?
It can be, but you don't have to frame it religiously. Think of it as your core essence, your spirit, your inner wisdom, that deepest part of you that holds all the positive qualities. Love, joy, peace, wisdom, abundance, trust. It's the best version of you, always present underneath the noise.
And she talks about divine homesickness.
Yes, borrowing from Roberto Saggioli, that feeling we sometimes get, that vague sense of longing, of searching for something out there, a feeling of alienation or loneliness even when surrounded by people. Jeffers suggests that's a clue. It's our soul feeling homesick because we've drifted away from connection with that inner higher self.
So the goal is to reconnect.
Yes. The entire system, the vocabulary, the truths, the affirmations, taking responsibility, it's all designed to train your conscious mind to tune out the fear-based frequency of the chatterbox.
Which is just accumulated negative programming.
Right. And instead, open the channel to listen to the wisdom, the peace, the trust of your higher self. The chatterbox is loud, but the higher self is steady.
And this is where intuition comes in.
Yeah.
Like her story about getting the teaching job at the new school.
Exactly. She just had this impulse, went there with no logical plan, no appointment, and spontaneously proposed teaching a course on fear. It turned out the department head was that very day looking for someone to teach exactly that course.
It was like the universe conspired to help her once she got out of her own way.
That's her point. When you align with your higher self, when you trust those intuitive nudges, even when they don't make logical sense, your subconscious mind, the universe, whatever you want to call it, often starts working on your behalf in surprising ways. You get out of your own fearful, controlling way and allow things to unfold.
So if you're in a stressful situation, say, anxiously waiting for news about a job offer or worried sick about a house purchase and the chatterbox is going crazy, how do you use these tools to reconnect, to recenter?
You deploy the arsenal. Pull out your affirmations. I'll handle it, whatever happens. Use the power vocabulary. I choose to trust the process, not I can't stand this waiting. Maybe use a short guided meditation audio, even just for 5 minutes, to quiet the mental noise and return to that inner place of safety and trust. Remind yourself, it's all happening perfectly. There is nothing to fear.
Actively bringing yourself back to center.
Yes. And to make this connection more consistent, she suggests making higher self, however you define it, connection, spirituality, inner peace, and contribution permanent, non-negotiable boxes on your whole life grid.
So you're always prioritizing that connection and that outward focus.
Exactly. If you
Yeah.
consistently nurture those two areas, she believes that positive, powerful, loving energy will naturally overflow and enrich all the other areas of your life too.
It all sounds incredibly powerful, but also like it takes work
Yeah.
and time.
Oh, absolutely. And that's her final crucial piece of advice. Patience.
Patience with the process.
Yes. Impatience, she says, is just another form of self-punishment. It's based on the faulty belief that things should be happening faster, that you should be further along. You have to trust the process. Growth takes time. It's like planting a seed. You don't dig it up every day to see if it's sprouting. Or building a fire, it takes time for the kindling to catch.
So trust that change is happening, even if you can't see it dramatically on the surface yet.
Exactly. Trust that it's all unfolding perfectly, on schedule. She quotes that beautiful passage from The Velveteen Rabbit about becoming real.
Oh, I love that book.
It says, becoming real doesn't happen all at once. It takes a long time. You might get loose in the joints and very shabby, but once you are real, through love and experience and embracing life fully, you can't be ugly, except to people who don't understand.
It's about authenticity, earned through the journey.
Precisely. And that leads to the ultimate paradox of the book. When you stay connected to home, to that higher self, that place of inner trust and love, you find you can actually go anywhere and do anything without being paralyzed by fear. The anchor is internal. #outro.
Wow. That really brings it all together. This has been such a comprehensive exploration of Susan Jeffers' work. It really feels like the core message isn't necessarily about changing what you do.
Right. It's more about changing the energy you bring to what you do, bringing that powerful, self-assured yet loving energy of your higher self to everything.
Okay, so for everyone listening, we really want to echo Jeffers' call to action. This isn't just about passively absorbing information.
No way. We challenge you. What's one specific concept from this podcast episode that you are going to actively implement starting today, right now?
Are you going to start that book of abundance tonight? Fill that first page.
Are you going to sit down and honestly identify the payoffs that might be keeping you stuck in a situation you dislike?
Maybe plan your first small risk a day for tomorrow morning. What will it be?
Remember truth too. Action drives out fear. Don't wait until you feel brave or inspired. Take the action, however small, and let that create the feeling. Let the ideas from this episode start enhancing your life immediately.
And if this resonated, we strongly, strongly encourage you to get the book itself. It's Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway by Susan Jeffers, PhD. It's the kind of book you'll probably revisit again and again at different stages of your life.
Absolutely. It's a lifelong resource. And for more ongoing inspiration, you can also explore her other works. She wrote several other wonderful books like Embracing Uncertainty and End the Struggle and Dance with Life. And definitely check out resources related to her work online, perhaps engage with communities discussing her ideas.
Thank you so much for joining us for this really extensive podcast episode on the Playing Books podcast. We genuinely hope this deep dive into self-empowerment has given you some concrete tools and maybe a little nudge of courage to move forward.
We invite you, as always, to follow, subscribe, and maybe share this episode with someone you know who might need to hear that message. That fear isn't a stop sign, it's just a signal that it's time to learn and grow.
Until next time.
Feel the fear
Yeah.
and do it anyway.